So this is Nicole from the Trash Goblins, and this is our very first podcast. Wanted to get one out there so we could introduce who we are, what the Trash Goblins are, what Trash Goblins Inc. is, etc., and give everybody an idea of what we are trying to do with this thing we're doing.
Yeah, and I'm Mike, the other primary trash goblin, I guess, because I guess we have sort of a little pile of us now. To be completely honest, we're kind of in the dark and throwing this at the wall to see what sticks. So bear with us while we figure out what we're doing.
So, I guess the main thing here is, well, do you want to do like a little bit of bio, who we are individually? How do you want to do the whole how we met thing?
No, I mean, we can. What? For me, I'd rather, I just want to tell people about what the point of what we're doing is, because, I guess they could see who we are on the website, and over time, they'll get to know us,
Well,
hopefully.
we still don't actually have any information about who we are at all on the website.
Do we not? Oh, it's even better.
No. Yeah, so there's no context whatsoever for like who we are outside of Trash Goblins. There's nothing.
Oh, that's true. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
So, well, you take yours first because you have an actual career.
You have several actual careers.
That's true.
I mean, we don't have to go into the whole thing, but so both of us are from Chicago. We're from opposite sides of the city. I
Almost exact opposite sides.
Yeah. I started doing archaeology when I was 19, and that is the career that I kind of do for a while and then get mad at and then take a break and then come back and do it again for a while and then get mad at it again, take a break. I'm currently in the doing the thing part of archaeology right now in Georgia, and I do mostly Section 106 archaeology, which is essentially, state and federal regulation type stuff where I, go out and make sure if there's any, it's compliance archaeology, basically. And yeah, I was previously a Mayan archaeologist studying in Belize. I may or may not finish my dissertation at some point. And then outside of that, I do jujitsu. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot more to it, but those are the basics.
Yeah. Well, people can
unlock our Patreon paywall and we'll tell you more goofy crap about us.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, all right. And speaking of goofy crap, that's kind of always been my jam. I never really fit into any particular nooks or crannies. So I always knew I wanted to do something with art, and I always wanted to do something with animals. So I was trying to make both of those work. And so for the last 10 years, I've been doing pet care, walking dogs, taking care of them. But for about 15 years now, I've been doing general animal welfare work. Working for ASPCA back in the day and stuff like that. Used to work at a doggy daycare. And at night, I have an Etsy shop and I do art of all kinds. Right now, I'm mostly focusing on wood etching, laser cutting stuff. But we also do, clearly together, we do cosplay and fabrication and stuff. And every once in a while, I'll get a commission for something out of the ordinary. But in general, I just do a bunch. I used to call myself the rent-a-bum. So anytime somebody needed some kind of weird work done, I probably had my hands in it at some point. So I think I'm very lucky to be able to survive while walking pups and doing super weird random art.
I mean, you say survive, but like realistically, we have a house that's called Trash Goblins HQ.
You're right.
And you pay the mortgage for that house with those things. So
yeah, I was going to say
it's no bullshit.
It is beyond survival now. Yeah, it's weird because growing up as a poor kid, you're always like you're always going to be a poor kid. But I forget I'm not poor anymore.
I don't think that ever goes away. I
Yeah.
think you just It's, I go to the grocery store and I'm still like, do I really need name brand of this? No, I could get this for this much dollars at Aldi.
Yeah,
I don't think that, I think that
I definitely still
that's
do
always
that.
the way that it is. I'm trying to get better about it, especially in regards to like other people's art and things, because I know how much people work on things. So, like, if we do go to a Ren fair or a con or something like that, I tried to be
Oh
more
yeah,
conscientious about not being like, I could make that myself
right.
and actually spend money on things that I appreciate. Because, like, I could, but will I? Probably not.
Yeah, and it's
Probably
also,
not.
I mean, the main thing for it's especially with my sister and I too. We're always in that. We're never in a like disrespectful place when we say that stuff. We're never like, oh, I could make that. Yours sucks. It's more just like we want to have the fun of doing this creation as well.
Yeah.
But if you say that out loud next to somebody who just made the thing, it's not very polite.
No. I do that. Well, in my case, it's usually just I'm trying to somehow cap how much money I'm spending at a place because I'm like I keep thinking like I have no money to spend on these kinds of things. That's really the block for me. It's like no,
Yeah.
I can make that, therefore I shouldn't spend money on it. And now I'm like it doesn't matter. You like it, spend the money on it. That person will appreciate it.
Yeah, getting to that point in my life where I wanted to help fund and support other artists was a pretty big milestone for me. I always wanted to do it, but it was just not an option for a long time. But again, yeah, being in this house and having the work that I do allows me to do that, and I'm super grateful and happy for it. Did I tell
Well,
you about the goose for somebody that I met at ASIN?
no. Oh yeah, for from that the game where like the goose is
The
just
goose
chasing things
game.
around. Yeah,
Yeah,
literally the goose
I
game.
went to ASIN recently, the Chicago nerdy anime convention, and there was somebody walking around dressed up as one of the villagers from the Untitled Goose Game, where the goose just runs rampant and destroys the town. And we talked for a minute, and I said that if he gets in touch with me, I would help him make the goose.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's the kind
That's
of
like
stuff
what
I
I.
literally want to be doing.
So I guess I guess that's a good enough segue into what is Trash Goblins Inc. and what a pet care person slash artist and an archaeologist are doing with a weird cosplay website.
Right? Yeah, yeah. None of this on paper sounds like it makes any sense.
It's very hard to link all the things together. It's just kind of like madness, and then we're like, yeah, and then also costumes
Yeah,
and lots of dogs
and lots of dogs.
and
Yeah, Blue is
cats
here right now.
and now
Also,
possums.
yeah, no, well, they're not here.
Well, okay, that they can be.
They can be. I know. Shh, don't say that. Don't give me ideas. But yeah, the fact that like we're such different people, but we have such a huge pile of like crossovers in our lives that it's like this weird interweaving for like every one thing we have in common. We have a thing that we that we split off on in terms of our life culture or whatever. But it's kind of cool. Everything just sort of weaves together over time because we're into so many different things and we have so many passions that aren't necessarily correlative to one another.
So where I guess I don't even really know the answer to this, but where did we come up with the idea for the Trash Goblins, and or when did that start?
We were, I'm pretty sure it was a C2E2, and we were just talking about how great we feel when we're hanging around with other nerds, and what a good feeling it is hanging out at C2E2, and like that. Every time we go there, we get energized and we get happy, and even if we don't do anything at the con, even if we don't dress up or whatever, we're still interacting and having fun with other people and on that same like wavelength. And we just started getting the dream about like, oh, what if we did this and included other people? I think it was just we wanted to start it as a cosplay group just for our friends, and it just started growing from there because we wanted more people to be in on the fun. Really, that's how I felt.
I think what's funny is that like the first year that I think we went to C2E2, which I kept thinking was 2015. I think it was actually 2016. It was really just me, you, and Tim that year, and
Hmm.
I only went the one day. And then the first couple years, the people that we had a couple situations where we were cosplaying with other people, but then the people that
Yeah.
ended up becoming like sort of the founding members of the Trash Goblins were not the same people. And now the people that we're out cosplaying with this year are not those people either, which is
Yeah.
kind of it's just
It,
many it's sort of amorphous, and I enjoy that.
yeah, I was about to say that's why I like it because it's sort of a like we're I'd say we're the core members just because we have access to all the stuff and we're the ones that had the ideas to put it all together. But the orbiting people around us, around this group is great because it's no pressure, so people don't have to be, stressing about a costume or whatever. They can literally just pop in whenever they feel like it. And I think they tend to appreciate that too. I was just talking to Anna and Rosie about that. We did not dress up for
Well, I think when
ASIN.
I
We just showed up in plain clothes, and Anna was like, "Oh, good," because my, her Cienco outfit was not finished yet. But we
yeah,
still talked about cosplay like the whole time.
I think that's sort of something I've had to curb for myself. So, Mike is really the sort of the beating heart and soul of Trash Goblins. He was really the OG original member. And we kind of found each other, and then I was like, let's like do this. We can do this more. We can do this more organized. We can do this bigger. We can do this with other people. Let's organize a little bit and, get ourselves a name just so that we have like, I don't know, like a group vibe, like our little cosplay gang. And the other thing too is like wanting to be able to find better ways to meet other cosplayers and collaborate with more people, but also so that, like
Yeah,
Mike said, one of his a lot of his, goals for art is to be able to do more custom kind of pieces. And I was like, well, this might be a good way to get our stuff out there. Also, Mike has a lot of board games and other kinds of RPGs and stuff that he like invents, and it's like, well, these are just many ways to connect with lots of weird nerdy people that might be into the same stuff we are, might be able to play test some games, or do some of these other things with us, be find finally a rock steady for our Ninja Turtles outfit, something. But when I started, it was like, or when I started kind of going down that road and trying to organize things, like that first year when we were doing Ninja Turtles, and maybe even the year prior, it was so, I was so like extreme about it, and like, I need content from everybody, I need this. And now like, nah, it's like, if you want to. If you want to,
yeah,
it's there. Like,
yep.
no
And
pressure.
and I
People are
think
out there having babies, buying houses. I'm not, this is not a priority.
right, and I think that's the reason why we jam together fairly well. Is like you are an organizer and a planner, and you're somebody that can lay out the field of what needs to happen, and I'm somebody that's more freeform and like I'm more. I say I'm goal oriented, where you are like plan focused. So like if something goes off the rails, we can always figure out a way to get it back on the rails, or improv our way out of it. So no matter what happens, we'll always have a backup plan. And I think that's what also works for the people that interact with us. Like my sister, again, like she didn't even want to go to ASIN at first because she was like, "Oh, the costume's not done, and I don't feel like going if it's not finished." And I had to sit her down and be like, "Look, the bottom line is like, I want to go to this with my sister and have fun, and I want to experience this weird thing together. Like I don't, the costume is it's fun and it's a cool thing that we do, but it's not the end all be all. Like the whole Trash Goblins thing for me is like the community above all else. And so the fact that the having the space to have everybody just come over and hang out, even if they're not cosplaying, as long as they're enjoying themselves and being part of our little nerdy world, that's all I want. And then once people are in that headspace, then the creativity just kind of flows freely. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. And for, context for anybody listening to this, we do have a website because I don't know for sure that you are finding this on our website, but our website is
Ink.
trashgoblinsinc.com.
Yeah.
Yeah, and his sister Anna is featured on our Gobbies page as well. She's one of our founding Gobbies. Well, I think she's. I don't
Yes.
think I called her something else because I was like she had no choice because she really
Yeah.
didn't have a choice. She's your sister.
Right. Right. Yeah. The website is our like catch-all for all the weird stuff that we do. That's the thing too. I I love I love the idea of organizing and keeping everything in files and folders for us, but I also don't want to feel constrained like I have to make a specific kind of content or engage in a certain way because bottom of the line is like I'm just going to improv weird crap as it comes to me. So I guess that's the biggest benefit of the website is whenever we think of weird stuff, it's just going to show up there no matter what it is.
Yeah, I think in like formulating what this was going to be and what we were going to do with it, there was a lot of time on like, but we're the real big, I guess, piece for me was the realization that we're not professional cosplayers, nor do we want to be professional cosplayers.
Yeah, not at all.
And then it was like, okay, well then what are we doing? Like what are we trying to get out there? Because it's, that's a lot of our content and a lot of what we do, but it's not really the core of who we are, and it's not the core of how we think about cosplay either.
Right.
So that's, and that was the point at which I'm like, okay, here's what we need to do. We need a website, but we need to talk about why these costumes and why our choices with these costumes. And it's not just about it's not about these finished product, professional photography, whatever pre-practiced poses stuff. We're actually pretty terrible at that, or at least
Yeah.
I'm very terrible at that. Like very terrible at that.
It depends on the
Photographers hate
costume.
me. Yeah.
Like for
Yeah.
a squirrel girl,
You
you're
try to get
definitely
me.
getting those down.
Oh yeah, yeah. Squirrel Girl's easy. Red Sonja, if somebody's trying to make me look mean, like I'm gonna chop somebody's head off with my axe, I'm like, and I'll try, and they're like,
Yeah.
no. But if
Yeah.
they're like trying to have me, with a stein in my hand and like cheersing with my axe like a jolly dwarf, I'm fine with that. Like I can
Yeah.
do that.
It's
But
it feels like that's the one they try to give you the most direction in because they have like a specific image of Sonya in their head, but you are like you have your own Sonya. All of our costumes are our own versions of these characters, and other people every once in a while will want us to fit into their idea of it. We're like, no, we made this one. We'll figure it out.
yeah, this is how I want her to be.
Right.
This is how I want this one to be. But that's, a lot of it is essentially realizing that the common thread in all of the different things, and even in the ways that we approach art and the way that I approach my job, is all storytelling. That's really the core, I think, of what we do and like what keeps us connected. Because it's not just about the con and the picture that you get of the costume. It's the like story you're telling about how you made the costume, how you made the decisions going into the costume, who you made it with, who was hanging around you while you were making it, and like the fun you got to have while wearing it. So it's like a living, breathing character for real, like of its own, not just in terms of it being a character that you're pulling from some other media, but also just its own sort of like it takes on a life of its own in and of
It's-
itself.
It's beyond performance art too because we're not only are we we sort of act as the characters once in a while, but we're just playing around and having fun, but we are still sort of one of the things about cosplay for me is it helped me be a lot more social and get over a lot of my shyness because I felt like I was hiding in plain sight. I was able to be this other thing and I didn't have to be, I didn't have to be Mike right at this moment. I can be somebody else, but that taught me how to socialize a little better. So there's always a little performative aspect of any time I dress up. And that's even if I dress up in like, a suit and tie or something I don't normally dress up as. I just kind of look at it as cosplay and another fun way to engage with people. But because of the way we approach it that way, because of how we approach it, that way it allows me to interact with people in ways I hadn't been able to before. And I think it makes a cool social cushion for people to be goofy and to riff off of my energy when I have it. And I've seen you do it too. If people start to riff off of our energy, then it becomes like this really fun back and forth thing. And the more people interact with us that way, the more fun it becomes. And I think, actually, now that I think about it, that's the distillation of Trash Goblins,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like we're having a
So,
blast. We're just kind of goofing around. And if we get silly and somebody else gets silly with us, it's the best day like ever.
well, I think too that one of the things that it's funny because I traverse back and forth between these different sort of realms and worlds, as most people do, right? Nobody's one thing and only one thing. I'm an archaeologist. I'm also a writer. I'm also a musician. I'm also, a partner and a cat owner and a stepmom and like all of these things. I do jujitsu, and it's funny because like I'll go to a jujitsu seminar or something like that, and somebody be like, "What is that thing that you posted with like the cosplay pictures?" I'm like, I'm not only like I do other things besides jujitsu. I'm also an archaeologist,
Right.
like, but I think that one of the things that, especially me being as I can be a goofy person, but I'm mostly a very serious person. I've had to be, I literally with my job can go have to be like an authority on stuff in a courtroom. Like if these archaeological sites that we're recording, something happens with them or whatever, there are state or federal laws broken, I have to go testify in court. So it's there's an aspect to my life for which I'm like, most of the aspects of my life very serious, very very stern and whatever. And I think that as a contrast to that, I feel very much that there's a huge importance in play, and especially when it comes to identity and being able to try things on and being able to kind of like not feel so constrained because especially people get to know you, people think of you as this or that, you kind of feel like you're slated in a box sometimes. And I think cosplay allows you the freedom, is one way in which we have that freedom to kind of try on other aspects of our identity or play up some aspects of our identity that maybe don't get to come out and hang out very often.
Yeah.
And I think that is kind of where we all find that it's like, meeting on the playground for recess. You know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
like,
that's a good way to put it.
and I think that that's what has, you start off with it and it's like, yeah, I'm like 30 something. I put on costumes on my weekends and go to cons across the US. And then it sounds silly, but then like you think about it and what you get out of that. And that's, I think, there's a lot of different sort of theory, especially nowadays around that kind of like identity stuff and like the importance
Yeah.
of play and the importance of like, as a stress relief and other things.
Yeah.
So
And it's important to note
I
too that
just
like when we were little and we were growing up, the whole being a nerd thing wasn't cool, which sounds like it's a tropey thing to say now, but I got made fun of and screwed with for playing Dungeons and Dragons or dressing kind of weird or whatever when I was a kid. But now, nerds around the world, and I guess they always have, but it's socially an acceptable and sought after thing, right? So we can do the non-traditional things and still be in a place where we feel good about ourselves and not constantly hounded about it like in the 80s and 90s. So even if we are doing the quote unquote silly thing, there's somebody else that's going to be engaging in the same silly thing or something similar, or somebody that wants to do it. And nowadays they'll actually be able to ask you about it and not just kind of shun you from the background or you know, hide behind stuff and be like, one day maybe they'll talk to me about the weird thing, you know?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think that's a hugely important thing for me is that, not, I've always, I say that I'm actually an introvert, but I've had to practice being an extrovert a whole lot as a survival mechanism in my life and in my family and the neighborhood I grew up in. So I'm very practiced at it, even though it is still deeply uncomfortable for me. So the idea of, sort of like flying my freak flag and doing cosplay or doing whatever, and all the various different things I have done throughout my life that were sort of out of the norm or, whatever subcultures. I kind of always felt like I feel like I have the strength or the whatever to stand out here and if I can do that and I can kind of be like, yeah, this is me, what? It gives other people permission to do that too and
Yeah.
to be themselves unapologetically, even though, like I said, it is still, I'm working on the part where it's still deeply uncomfortable, but it's,
Yeah.
it's like I can do that. And if I feel like it's the right thing to do, then I can like at least sit with that and it's okay for me. It's like, all right, the discomfort I can handle.
Yeah, I agree. If at any point something that I did can give somebody else the courage to be like, I want to do the weird thing too, I'm more than happy to take the social hit or whatever, you know, consequence there is if somebody else can feel comfortable in their own skin, which I think is kind of like that's what cons are nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like everybody is sort of there to take the bullet for you at a con, but nobody has to take the bullet for you at a con anymore because they're usually such of the cons that I've been to. So I've done ASIN, I've done C2E2 is our main one. I do PAX East every year that I can. I still count Renaissance Fair as a convention, even though it's not technically a con. But
Sure.
all these places are really, they're not homogenous, but they're very welcoming places in general. So I'm only speaking from experience of the cons that I've been to. But it all feels like home when you're there. You know, like it's finally to the point where like all the weird stuff is starting to be normal. And I remember realizing that when our local fair, which is the Bristol Renaissance Fair, they stopped. I don't remember what their old tagline was. It was something about, you know, enjoy the Middle Ages or whatever. But now it's where fantasy rules, and they just kind of took off all the strictures and all the expectations of like you have to show up in Elizabethan garb if you're going to come to the Renaissance Fair, like when I was younger. And once they got rid of that and said we're fantasy rules, then everybody just jumped in full feet. There's stormtroopers standing next to dragons, and everybody's like, "That's cool," and it all just works out.
Yeah. 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 I guess that's a good so we do several cons. They're posted on on our website, on our I think community page because it's each one will usually do a Facebook event page for. We don't mind that too much because like neither one of us are huge Facebook fans, but it's like kind of a necessity for networking with people these days. So we'll
Yeah.
usually do a Facebook event post for any con or public thing that we're doing, just as a way for people that are going to be there to reach out and be like, "Hey, where are you guys going to be? We have a meetup this day. Do you guys want to come?" That would be lovely if somebody would invite us to. But also if you just want to be like, "Hey, I'm curious. I'd love to see you." You can check that out on our website community page and then find the events through there. I think we have only three left that I'm aware of this year, and that's Bristol Renaissance Fair, C2E2 in Chicago, and then Dragon Con in Atlanta. And then we're going to actually try to shift a little bit, and toward the end of the year, we're going to finally do some fall, lovely autumn weather local events at Trash Goblins HQ, which is the house that we have together. in the Chicagoland area. And hopefully, and that'll be probably a game that Mike has designed himself. And so that'll be fun. Mike's been wanting to do that for a real long
I
time,
would.
so we're very excited to have a space
I
to
was
do it.
just about to say, yeah, to be able to run games and events and have this space to engage in that with other people is a big deal. And changing, it used to be a Game of Thrones game, but we don't talk about Game of Thrones anymore. So it's very likely going to be a Lovecraftian type board game situation. But between that and I would like to get our sort of like our little backyard fall or winter Ren Fair. So people can wear their cool cold weather gear as opposed to being in blistering hot, bajillion degree weather every summer.
Yeah, more than one of us have passed out trying to wear either full plate armor or some kind of leather and fur get up at
Yep.
a summer fair.
Yep. Yeah.
So it'll be
My
nice
tolerance
to
is very low now.
I have a great love for fur, and no cosplay situation lends itself well to that. So
Right.
very
We
much
gonna
excited
fix
to
it.
having furs and fires. Well, I guess so. Probably next episode, we have a lot of cons we've done already this year that we need to catch up on. So probably the next episode will just be like first half of 2000. What year is it? 2022.
20. Yeah.
A
That's it.
2022 roundup of like all the cons we've done already this year. This weekend, I should be getting up all of the content from those, the rest of the content from those, before kind of taking a short break during during June, doing Jean,
Jean.
and Jean, and then getting to the second half of summer and hitting the last couple cons and fairs that we're going to be part of. But in the interim, if anybody happens to catch this and is going to be doing Bristol or C2E2 or Dragon Con or any other con really, and you're looking for either collaboration or commissions on XYZ weapon that you want to make but you don't know how, or you just want to kind of hang out and craft with other weirdos, definitely find us on our website. We will post all of the information for the things that we have said in the show notes when I figure out how to do that. and and there you can find our contact page and all that kind of stuff. And we're definitely very open to meeting new friends and working with new people.
Yeah, thank you everybody
Anything else?
for listening. If you found this, if you enjoyed it at all, share it with somebody else. But if not, that's fine. Try and listen again later. We're just figuring out what we're doing. And also, if you ever meet us in person, if you find us randomly at a con or something, please just come up and say hi. Don't feel weird about it. We just want to meet new people. And at some point, we're also going to start making little fun things for places that we've been to just sort of commemorate it. Little tokens or trinkets for people to feel like they're in on the joke with us.
Yeah, we may eventually be able to be like collect the coins for prizes or some stuff. We have plenty of things we could auction and give away and make for people
Right.
and give us excuses to make more things.
Exactly.
And also just stay in your keep what was the word? What was I gonna say?
I don't know. I'm not wearing my tinfoil hat.
Yeah. I guess stay tuned and, be forewarned because this is the first sort of like, oh, this is us being awkward and being like, this is who we are. But
Right.
it's going to very quickly get very strange in here. So, you know,
I really do want that on my gravestone now.
what?
It's gonna get really strange in here.
I mean, I feel like that's the only thing about our website that could be different a little bit, is like could be a lot weirder. But I'm kind of just gonna let that happen on its own. Like let them let them get the false sense of security
Yeah.
and come in and be like,
And it
oh, look
will.
at that, that's a cute little squirrel girl. And then like,
Yeah, they'll find out that we are actually Muppets soon enough.
oh, speaking of, well, stay
We'll
tuned
talk
for
about that
more
next
Muppets,
time.
like actual ones. Yeah.
All right, thank you everybody
All
for
right,
listening.
well, at that, all right, this is Nick and Mike.
This is Mike.
And we are signing off.
Okay,
Stay
bye.
weird. This has been a production of Yuck Mouth Media.